My name is Marie, a 54-year-old office worker employed by a family-owned company that manages a chain of restaurants. Though my official title is store advisor, I primarily work from the comfort of my home, a necessity driven by a lifelong physical disability. Born with a handicap in one leg, I rely on a cane for mobility, which makes navigating crowded downtown areas or using public transportation daunting. As a result, I rarely visit the restaurants operated by our company, a fact I acknowledge isn't ideal but one I've accepted since the sudden loss of my beloved husband, Simon, to illness 2 years ago. His passing left my life feeling hollow, stripped of the vibrancy it once held. Now, I reside alone in a modest condominium arranged for me by my brother, Philip, after I relinquished the larger home I shared with Simon to my stepson, Roger, and his wife, Nicole, 3 years ago. Some might wonder if solitude weighs heavily on me, but when I balance the freedom of living independently against the occasional pang of loneliness, the scales tip firmly in favor of liberty. This preference is partly shaped by my strained relationship with Nicole, Roger's wife, which has deteriorated to a point of irreparable discord. Nicole, 8 years Roger's junior at 24, is a striking woman whose beauty and charisma once made her a celebrated college student model. She graced television screens and was poised to become a news reporter, having earned the title of Miss University. However, her trajectory shifted dramatically when she became pregnant with Roger's child during her junior year, leading to a hasty marriage. Initially, she planned to resume her studies after childbirth, but severe morning sickness and declining health derailed those ambitions. Fearing the toll pregnancy might take on her appearance, Nicole threw a tantrum, declaring, "I refuse to be seen in public looking like this," and abruptly dropped out of college. Her irritability, fueled by her uncontrollable physical condition, manifested in hysterical outbursts directed at Roger. Desperate, Roger pleaded with Simon and me for help, lamenting, "Mom, no matter what I do, Nicole screams and rejects everything. The house is a mess, and it's terrible for the baby's prenatal environment. I need your support." Moved by his distress, Simon and I made the fateful decision to move into the spacious condominium we had purchased for our retirement, intending to support Roger and Nicole during this challenging time. However, cohabitation proved far more arduous than we anticipated. Nicole's demeanor toward me was nothing short of disdainful, treating me not as a family member but as a servant. Her demands were relentless and laced with contempt. "Marie, fetch my smoothie and crackers to bed, quickly. Haven't I told you how sick I feel if I wake up with an empty stomach?" she would bark, her voice dripping with entitlement. When she wasn't berating me over her morning sickness, she'd screech, "Why are you washing my clothes with your old hag's rags? No amount of expensive fabric softener can stop your stench from ruining my wardrobe." Simon, witnessing this behavior, would occasionally intervene, his voice firm but weary. "Nicole, is it common sense to harass a pregnant woman's mother-in-law?" he'd ask pointedly. Yet Nicole would snap back undeterred. "Don't lecture me." Roger, for his part, dismissed her behavior with a chuckle, saying, "It's impossible to reason with her right now, Mom. Just deal with it." As infuriating as Nicole's conduct was, her pregnancy compelled us to tolerate her outbursts. Had Simon been in better health, he might have taken a stronger stance, but unbeknownst to us, his body was already succumbing to the illness that would claim his life. Nicole's presence disrupted the sanctity of our home. She cluttered Simon's study and our living room, spaces meant for his relaxation after grueling workdays, with her beauty devices, leaving no corner untouched. Even our cherished bathtub, installed to ease Simon's fatigue, became a battleground. "Bathing with that old bugger gives me the chills," Nicole sneered. "Use the shower stall instead." Simon, exhausted by the constant conflict, sighed, "Arguing with them only drains me further. Let's endure it." His resignation emboldened Nicole and Roger, whose behavior grew increasingly tyrannical. Despite my physical limitations, I managed the household chores, hobbling through the pain in my leg. Nicole, however, showed no regard for my efforts. "I'll never end up like that disgraceful old hag, no matter how old I get," she sneered to a visiting beautician, pointing at me as I worked. The beautician, visibly uncomfortable, said nothing, but Nicole pressed on. We wanted a younger servant, but reliable help is so hard to find these days, so we settled for her. Her words cut deep, yet I continued my tasks in silence, my heart heavy with resentment toward both Nicole and Roger. When Nicole's due date arrived, she gave birth to a healthy boy named Tyler. Holding his first grandson, Simon's eyes glistened with tears as Tyler's tiny hand gripped his finger. The sight nearly brought me to tears as well, the baby's innocent smile momentarily washing away the bitterness in my heart. But this fleeting moment of joy was shattered when Simon collapsed at work. Panicked, I rushed to the hospital, frantically trying to reach Roger. His phone went unanswered, his work-issued mobile equally unresponsive. Desperate for Simon to see his grandson, I contacted Nicole, pleading with her to bring Tyler to the hospital. I'm in the middle of a hair treatment at the salon, she laughed dismissively. It's impossible. When I offered to pick Tyler up myself, she scoffed. Do you think I'd entrust my baby to an old hag who can barely walk with a cane? With that, she hung up. I persisted, calling both Roger and Nicole repeatedly, but my efforts were in vain. The operating room light flickered off, and the doctor emerged with devastating news. Simon had passed away. The days that followed are a blur, shrouded in grief, as if viewed through frosted glass. After Simon's funeral, I fell ill with the flu. Nicole, seizing the opportunity, declared dramatically the baby might catch it, which would be disastrous, and demanded I leave the condominium. Immediately, weakened by fever and emotionally shattered by Simon's death, I lacked the strength to argue. Barely managing to dress, I stumbled out, only to collapse in the elevator hall. Thankfully, the concierge called an ambulance, and I was rushed to the hospital, where doctors warned I was on the brink of pneumonia. My brother Philip, his wife, and my nephew Urban stepped in, managing my care. Roger and Nicole, however, didn't bother to visit, claiming there's no need to go to the hospital. She's safe, and it'd be terrible if the baby caught something. Outraged by their callousness, Urban and his wife, Olive, urged me to stay with them after my discharge, warning, if you return to that condo, Nicole will exploit you again. The thought of resuming a servant-like existence was unbearable, but staying with Philip's family wasn't feasible due to infection concerns from my sister-in-law's parents. Urban's offer became a lifeline. Before moving, I returned to the condominium with Olive to retrieve Simon's photos and personal belongings. What we found was a house in disarray, dirty dishes piled high, garbage clogging the disposal, and delivery containers strewn across the living room. The bathrooms were filthy, and a foul odor permeated the air. I wondered how they could raise a baby in such squalor. Nicole, staggering and drunk at 2 p.m. with friends, was momentarily startled to see us, but quickly reverted to her smug demeanor. So, you're finally back, she slurred. Get to cleaning this mess. It's like this because the old hag slacked off. Olive, incensed, confronted her. How dare you speak to Marie like that after all she's done? You kicked her out the moment she got sick. Nicole and her friends laughed, unfazed, and one suggested, why don't you just leave for good? This place will be Roger's, through inheritance anyway. The old hag can crawl back to her parents. As Olive's anger flared, I remained calm. Their behavior was no surprise. It was only a matter of time before they tried to oust me. With Urban's help, I moved my sentimental belongings out that day. Glancing back at the condominium, I recalled Simon's smile when we chose it as our forever home. I whispered to myself, Simon would understand. I settled into a new condominium near my parents' home, arranged by Philip, and resumed my job, which had been on hold since Simon's death. I adopted a rescue cat, a companion I couldn't have had due to Simon's allergies, and began rebuilding my life. Though Roger and I work for the same company, our interactions are minimal. One day, however, he sent an unexpected message about a milestone celebration for Tyler at one of our company's restaurants. Nicole had invited a large group, her parents, relatives, and friends, and Roger worried the event would feel unbalanced without our family's presence. When I suggested inviting Simon's relatives, Roger admitted they'd declined, citing the distance and short notice. Hesitant, I nearly refused, but Roger's apology. I'm sorry for everything. For Tyler's sake, please consider coming, and the memory of Simon's joy at Tyler's birth swayed me. I agreed to attend. On the day of the event, I arrived with Philip, his wife, Urban, Olive, and other relatives. Olive, still furious with Roger and Nicole, clarified, I'm here for Marie, not that couple. The restaurant's largest room featured low tables and chairs, a setup ill-suited for my mobility needs. When I requested a taller chair, Nicole interrupted loudly, arms crossed, there's no extra seat, so just stand. Her smirk reignited my frustration, but before anger could take hold, Philip's gentle tap on my shoulder grounded me. Impulsively, I turned to my relatives and asked, shall we go home then? Without hesitation, they chorused, yes. As we moved to leave, Nicole's guests grew restless. Her parents rushed forward, apologizing profusely and scolding her, but Nicole, humiliated in front of her circle, erupted, hurling vases, framed pictures, and dishes. Screams and the sound of shattering glass filled the room, but we walked out, undeterred. Outside, Philip and I convened a strategy meeting. Our company, founded by my grandfather, is a family-owned enterprise with over half its shares held by relatives. Philip, the CEO, and Simon, his college friend, had built it into a success. Simon joined at Philip's invitation, later marrying me after his first wife's death. Roger, his son from that marriage, became my stepson. Though our relationship was cordial, it lacked warmth. When Roger married Nicole, tensions escalated. Her domineering behavior prompted me to confront Roger, but a shocking discovery in the company's parking lot changed everything. Overhearing Roger boast to a married colleague about an affair, he bragged, even if it's exposed, they can't fire me. My stepmother, the founder's granddaughter, owns significant shares, and I'll inherit it all. His words revealed Nicole's disdain and Roger's complicity, rooted in their belief that I was a mere stepping stone to wealth. The truth, however, was different. Roger, never legally adopted, had no claim to my estate. Philip, as CEO, viewed him as a stepnephew at best. To protect my assets, I consulted Philip, Urban, and Olive, securing my estate against unauthorized claims. When Simon passed, his modest savings and insurance were renounced, and the condominium, mistakenly assumed to be his, was mine. Roger and Nicole's greed blinded them, prompting their haste to evict me. Pitying Tyler, I had initially retreated, but Nicole's outburst at the celebration was the final straw. I engaged my lawyer to initiate eviction proceedings for their illegal occupancy of the condominium. Nicole's parents, mortified, dragged her to the company to apologize. We believed Roger's family was handling everything, they pleaded. We had no idea it had come to this. Their apologies fell on deaf ears. Roger, arriving amid the chaos, feigned shock. I had no idea Nicole was this unreasonable, he claimed, then turned to her, snarling, we're getting a divorce. Take the kid and get out. His menacing glare chilled me, but Philip's icy response was swift. That restaurant is ours. You'll both pay for the damages. Roger, stay home until you're summoned. Philip then prepared to fire Roger, citing his negligence and Nicole's disruption. Though initially urged to act cautiously to avoid legal repercussions, our law firm uncovered damning evidence. Roger had embezzled exclusive wine, harassed employees, leaked confidential information, and misused company resources. At his dismissal hearing, Roger's bravado crumbled as evidence mounted, including videos of his harassment and proof of his infidelity. His lawyer, overwhelmed, resigned, leaving Roger to face the consequences alone. Roger's dismissal was swift, followed by criminal complaints and lawsuits. Struggling with debt and alimony, he avoided jail by liquidating his inheritance, but couldn't escape mounting claims. Nicole, enraged by his betrayal, filed for asset division and child support, only to face a bombshell. A DNA test revealed Tyler wasn't Roger's son. Investigations uncovered Nicole's multiple partners during their marriage, complicating her claims. Her parents, desperate to shield Tyler from scandal, disowned her, taking custody of their grandson. Nicole, now working nights to survive, faced harassment from Tyler's biological father, Winston, whose own life unraveled after his wife divorced him. Roger, last rumored to be working for dubious debt collectors, vanished, his fate unknown. Reflecting on this ordeal, I've transformed my approach to life. Once a self-perceived burden, I now engage actively in my work, inspired by female colleagues who urged me to bridge accessibility gaps in our restaurants. "Marie, you can make a difference," they said. "Have confidence." Embracing on-site roles, I've shed my excuses and regrets. With 11 years until retirement, I'm determined to earn an extension and honor Simon's memory. Tyler, now with Nicole's parents, remains a bittersweet reminder of what was and what might have been. As I move forward, I carry Simon's love and the strength to reclaim my life. Please feel free to comment below if you like this. Remember to like and subscribe for more.